Hi, and welcome to another Cordus Conversation. We have Rick and Tim with us, of course, from Cordus Mundi. You see Tim smiling at you as well. And we're honored, of course, to have with us our friend, Dr. David Fryling. Dr. David Fryling up there for me in the upper left-hand corner. David is the director of choral activities at Hofstra University. He teaches at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. He's also the founder of the Evoco Voice Collective, which is an organization of singers of the highest musical, technical, and expressive abilities. I'm going to embarrass David a little by letting you know that in 2014, he was inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. And in 2017, he was named the winner of the America Prize in not one, but two conducting categories. As if that wasn't enough, David does all of that teaching and all that conducting and a lot of clinics and on and on and on. He's also the past president of the American Choral Directors Association Eastern Region and is the ACDA's current president-elect. Mr. President-elect, what does that mean?
Well, I'm still figuring that out. I think it's been about a year, actually, since I've joined the executive committee of the National ACDA, and it is, I mean, it's been an exhilarating ride, especially with this past 4 months or so. What it means from an actionable viewpoint, it means I'm one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 members of that board, and we define and decide policy things and about the national conference. The national organization, I should say. It means in 2 years, so 2023, I'll be in charge of the national conference in Cincinnati. And then after that, I'll be president. So I moved to vice president and in charge of the conference. And then I'll be president, and then I will set agendas for the National Association. So that's what that means in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow. We, of course, feel in a way that we're related to you because one of the founding members of Cordus, and until very recently, of course, and our co-conductor has been your father, David Fryling. And we know we wanted to talk a little bit about your family and about, your road that's brought you here. You suggested that we ask you about your mother.
I was... You can. So, just kidding, Mom. No, I mean, I come from a musical family. There's no question. My wife jokes, not all that much of a joke, that she had auditioned to get into the family. She passed with flying colors, of course. Yeah, we sang. We were all musicians. My parents were both music educators at some point in their lives, both performers, and so me and my sister both grew up in that musical soup, as it were, well steeped and forced to become musicians, I think, to a certain degree, in the best sense of that way, that we were given the opportunity to explore piano and singing from very young ages, and we also sang together as a group, and yeah, so that's, I was lucky in that sense, considering where I am now.
And did you feel it at that time?
Did I feel lucky?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, I'm trying to think of if I ever actually felt one way or the other about that, lucky or not. I think I felt unique. I felt unique in that way because I had a musical training much younger than most of my peers, and didn't have to fight to practice piano. Often had to fight to practice piano, to be told to be practicing piano, as opposed to some of my friends whose parents really didn't understand. So yeah, from that standpoint, for sure. I don't think I ever felt it as a negative.
And how has it informed you as a parent with your children?
How's it informed me as a parent? Well, they have both been given opportunities to explore music, and they are both musical, although neither of them has continued with piano, but they both continue I mean, they'll sit down at the piano every now and then just for enjoyment, which is all I really care about. They both play instruments, they both sing. And so I think it is just, it was definitely not, it was not a question whether or not we were going to expose them to music at the beginning. It was just going to be a major part of their lives. So that's probably how that is informed.
I'm realizing as you're talking, you grew up in a 4-part household, didn't you?
Yeah.
In an SATB household.
Yeah, although my mom would sing, let's see, my mom would often sing alto, and my sister would sing soprano because she was younger. And my mom's not an alto, but.
Okay. I'm sorry, Tim, I stepped on you there.
No, I was going to say that those of us who have worked with David know that he exudes this love of music. And his singers, when we've hosted singers from Hofstra, they just talk about it in such glowing, loving terms. It's just what a gift you have brought them and us as well.
That's very kind, very kind.
Well, you're the reason I started in Cordus. If you remember, it was after one of the times accompanying Cordus and Friends, but our first experience was the Dorfley Cumulo with just the men. But it was your just encouragement.
I don't know if I remember that, but that's wonderful to hear.
It's you over chocolate brownies.
I made Tim Harrell's famous chocolate brownies last week I'm making them all the time, but literally when was it, Maddie? It was not too long ago that we made, I think it was 5 days ago, something like that. And they are still just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Yeah.
Can we toast the brownies?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe I'll have to go make a pan.
That brings us very naturally to a little bit of discussion about our collaboration. For those who may not know, for the past 10 years, we've had the growing privilege of working with David once a year at the end of each of our seasons to do Cordus and Friends, with David conducting and our soprano and alto friends. Let's just talk a little bit about collaborations in general. My question would be this, and I don't know how normal our situation is to what you do or not. You have roughly 5 rehearsals with us. We've done the preparation up until then, and then whammo, we go out and do the most sensational program in our season every year with you and our soprano and alto friends. How do you prepare for us, and how do you prepare to get the work that has to be done accomplished in that small amount of time?
Well, it begins very clearly with repertoire choice and picking out the gems from maybe my last 5 years working with various groups, trying to find the right fit, trying to find a theme, something that works, that's intrinsically motivating for the group. So I think that if you work on choosing a theme and choosing the right repertoire, people are more likely to rehearse that repertoire, do the work outside. So I do try, especially it falls at for me, the end of the school year, right, the end of the cycle. It falls in the hottest part of my rehearsal sequence. I don't do a lot of, since I haven't for the last couple of years done much in the summer from a rehearsal standpoint. I do some summer sings with the vocal, but so it falls in sort of that lazy kind of summery kind of feel, not for me so much, but for I would imagine a lot of people. So I want to make sure that every single piece of music is exceptional in a way that draws the singer in as well as the audience. Then from there, I think it's a matter of not choosing too much. So I'm always trying to program right at the level or under for any group that I work with, never over program. So that has to do with how the repertoire, how difficult the repertoire is for the singer, but also how much time it's going to take to perform. And so I try to find a time that is not particularly, not overly challenging. I'd rather have lots of extra time to work with the music and the text and bring it to life rather than just enough time to make sure everything works. You know, I'm never at a loss for things to do in a rehearsal. So assuming the pieces have been chosen, you know, well, so that I think those two things, choosing the right rep and choosing not too much of it, are key to making those collaborations work, probably. Those are probably the biggest keys. Does that answer the question? Yeah, I can keep going.
Yes, it does. And I know that Tim's got related questions as well.
Well, in terms of that, certainly working with our group, Cordus and our friends, the average age is significantly higher than what you encounter in school. So I'm sure that poses various challenges for you as the director. And so.
I think that it's actually if I had to categorize everything from top to bottom, most every category would be, this is so much more easy to work with, you know, actual adults as opposed to fake adults. No offense to my college kids.
Really?
Absolutely.
I'm really surprised to hear that. Talk more, please.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's no question of motivation. There's no, we have to talk about vocal technique, and that's different. And you hit a certain age, there are issues certainly with the aging voice and that kind of thing, which is unique to working with an ensemble with more older singers. But that's a unique challenge, but it's not a challenge I don't deal with in any ensemble. It's just it's unique that, you know, voice technique is tricky and every single age group has their problems. And working with older people is just a different problem, not more of a problem. But I don't know, I think it's certainly as I get older too, it's just a lot easier to relate to old people like myself, you know, just from a interpersonal kind of thing. I don't find it difficult to do it with high schoolers and college age people, but it's just less work to work with an older group of older people who are mature, who can have, you know, who have life experience that you can pull on. I think, you know, as I'm thinking through talking about the repertoire, talking about the text, it's a lot easier to talk to people who are who own houses and have loved and who have lost, as opposed to sort of trying to put teenagers or college kids in that future perspective. So it's less work. I don't know. It's a very different experience to sort of open the ears and minds and thoughts of younger people to real life things and show them the universality of poetry and that. That's exciting. But it's a different experience, and it's, I think, a really interesting experience to work with people who've been through that and been through more than I have. Being, you know, some of you are older than I am. So that's,
yes, both of us are. So that leads me to my next question about the aging voice. And during this pandemic, when many of us are not singing as much as we were doing, and being a choir director in my church also, I mean, I've heard professional singers sometimes benefit from vocal rest, but we're not professional singers. And what advice, or do you have thoughts on that? And from the ACDA perspective too, I'm curious about what they're suggesting.
Yeah, well, we're making it all up as we go along, as we all know, right? Okay. No, but the core tenets of any discipline are that you continue to do it, right? So vocal rest is great if you're overextended. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that anybody in Cordus would be in that category. Vocal rest is great for an opera singer who has overextended their schedule because they have to make rent or whatever, and are lucky enough to be able to overextend their schedule. It's kind of a luxury, as it were. So I don't think that vocal rest would be particularly useful for your average church choir member. There are reasons that they would be on vocal rest for vocal damage and other things, but not because they would be over singing. And so my major concern would be to make sure that they are continuing to sing. I'm a dilettante runner at best, and I do have to make sure that when it just becomes harder to run, when it's hot and gross out, it's easy for me not to run. And then a week or two later, I try to run, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's very similar with singing. I think if you don't use the voice, it just like running, the muscles don't, they forget. They atrophy is a strong word, but they tend to not grow in the way that you need them. So all that is to say that in any way that we can encourage people to continue to sing during this time away, this pandemic, that is the goal. You know, singing together is something that we look forward to in the future. We don't know when that's going to happen, but the singing has to continue. Otherwise, singing together it'll be hard. It'll be like running for the first time after, 7 months off or whatever this ends up to be. What else can I talk about there?
Well, I'm sure we've all given some thought to what those first couple rehearsals back are going to be like. And Tim, you and I have agreed probably within the first 8 bars comes tears, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking about it does it.
Yeah. Totally. Absolutely.
That's true. Yes, we're all in this downtime, as it were, but yes, the music is going on. Can you talk at all about Evoco right now, and/or Hofstra, and/or either what you're doing or what maybe is going to be able to happen?
Sure. We don't know. We're right in the middle of some major release of some major research.
Right.
Yesterday, the Colorado study preliminary information came out, mostly focused on band instruments, but it did have some singing and speaking ideas in there. We're hoping for more. We're expecting more information July 25th about singing. Again, only preliminary, so it's very research takes a long time, but they're pushing it out. They're pushing out preliminary information to the public because of the obvious planning issues for the fall. So what happened with the spring was that we were directly in the middle of our semester when things shut down. So we were basically boarding the bus to tour. I mean, we were a couple of days out before that, and the semester shut down. And then we all scrambled to make sure things were happening online. For my ensembles at Hofstra, that meant that it really meant letting off the reins there, because there was a lot of chaos that ensued for the other classes. Had already put in a great deal of work to that semester. And if you're a music major, you know that your ensembles are very small credit for a lot of work. Our ensembles are 0.5, or lots of kids take it for 0 credit because they have to. So I felt that the humane thing was to sort of back off of anything for my ensembles, because we'd already done all the tests, we'd done all the singing, chamber choir was ready to tour, I didn't see, at that point, it was very difficult to see, first of all, from a technological standpoint, how to make things work. It was very difficult to, we've learned a lot. I hadn't heard of Zoom at that point, and now I live on it. So at that juncture, what I did was we did a little virtual choir project. We did 2 pieces from our repertoire from that spring, and I invited anybody in my ensembles to join in that project. And I did not require it because of various reasons, mostly having to do with access to internet, comfortability of putting your face on the screen, and also just the kids being overwhelmed with distance learning as the as the professors were figuring out how not to overwhelm them with distance learning. So, and the fruit of our labor just came out the last couple weeks. We released those two projects, and they came out really well. I was really proud of what we were able to accomplish there. I don't know what that means for the fall. It was very different learning it, because we learned it all basically in person. We learned how to breathe together, we learned how to phrase together, we learned how to create the shapes that we wanted in person, and then we never got to perform it, but then we were able to do it virtually. It'll be a very different experience in the fall if we're not in person. The Evoco also we literally had our last last rehearsal for a concert on a Sunday, and then Hofstra shut down that week. So that was March 13th. I think our concert was March 14th and 15th. So we have another concert with the treble ensemble that was ready to go and has not been performed. We're still figuring out what to do with that. I mean, it will be the first concert that we perform out of quarantine, because it's basically ready to go and it won't take us long to put together. We'll take maybe a rehearsal or two plus dress, and then we're ready to go. So that will be our recovery plan. During the summer, the thing that Evoco has been doing is we've had a summer sing, a virtual summer sing 2 weeks ago. We have another one this Thursday. You're all invited. Go to www.evoco.vc and you can find out more information about that. The idea there is that we've recorded everything that we've performed live, and we have released everything that we've performed live on your streaming service of choice. So Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, whatever. So we use recordings from past performances, and everybody zooms in and mutes themselves. I share the scores with everybody, and everybody it's like a sing-along, which sounds weird, but everything's weird now, and it's surprisingly satisfying. It's surprisingly moving to watch, and I've heard from people who do it that it's surprisingly wonderful to do that, even though it's you in a room muted singing along with a recording. It's also you in a room with 100 other people singing along to music that we've sung. And of course, the members of Evoco who have sung on those recordings also have an extra boost of serotonin because they have that memory. That's what we've been doing there. We're still very much up in the air from a decision standpoint for what goes forward. Personally, I think it's really important that we know that it's safe to sing together before we sing together.
Amen.
And I think that feels like a pretty obvious statement. The challenge for a lot of conversations is definition of what's safe and determining how to know when it's safe. I'm erring on the side of, if it's not clear that it's safe, then we're not going to sing together. I will not be responsible for pulling people into a space with me, not with me. I mean, I won't be responsible for pulling people into a space that could be dangerous. Now, life is dangerous. I understand that there's always that argument of risk is a spectrum, but we know that there's great risk with this, and that aerosolization is also a burgeoning concern, which we do as singers. So from, every organization that I'm involved in is struggling with this. We are trying to figure out what is safe. I don't have the answer to that yet. And until we have the answer, there won't be singing, at least in my ensemble. So I think once we have the vaccine and there's good therapeutic approach to, so we have both of those things, the vaccine and a therapeutic approach to the COVID-19, then we can start saying for sure. Whether or not we can do it before that is still a very big question, and very much so a question.
I'm very pleased to hear what you have to say. Cordus, for what it's worth, has taken a very similar approach. We have voted that we're not singing until September of next year, but we also have a plan B, which brings us back sooner, as you said, with the advent of meds and
Yeah.
or that vaccine. I think you've said it really eloquently, the idea of I think, yeah, we need to be erring on the side of caution here. And you're right, these are the lives of our friends, aside from everything else. My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, Craig Hella Johnson says that we have 12 to 15 months in which we need to be crazy creative.
Yeah.
And that to me makes sense. I would also observe, because I've done a couple of Craig's sing-along kind of events and conspiraries, and I find that every time I open my mouth to sing, my brain recognizes all the other people that I'm singing with, and I start crying.
Yeah.
I can't sing.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a really emotional time for all of us. And I think that most of the time we're holding it together. We're trying to I mean, it'd be easy to just, lie down and give up, right? And we just have to continue to go through the day. And those of us lucky enough to be able to isolate and be healthy, and I think we all realize that we're lucky. Doesn't make it better. Doesn't make it any less painful or difficult. But it is the responsible adult thing to realize your privilege and live with the discomfort. But when we then ask ourselves to do things like sing together, singing cuts right to it, cuts right to the quick, and I think it just unleashes so much. Always in non-pandemic times, I think singing has that ability, and so it's just all the more heightened.
Amen.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better place to wrap us up, unless my friend Tim has anything he'd like to add here, or David, if there's anything you'd like to add. I think you put it very eloquently. We are going to all go forward. The music is in us. There's no way to get it out of us.
That first time together is going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah, I have dreams about it. And they're all good. There's a lot of hugging and weeping, but
We'll be safe to hug also. So that's going to be a big part.
For sure.
Without the damn mask.
I know.
We reach out right now to hug you, our brother.
Thank you.
Really appreciate this time you've given us. We look forward to making music with you again too.
And greetings to your family.
Thank you. I will tell them. My son's still in bed, I think. So.
All right, gentlemen, here we are. There we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, David.